I think it's important that something like this happened. On terrorism, why does terrorism exist? I mean, I guess I don't have a particularly unique point of view on that. My feeling is a lot of it is due to poverty, but I think there are a very complex set of factors which have to do with people feeling like it's the only way they can get attention or get someone to pay attention to their particular situation. And I'm hoping that the world can figure other ways of paying attention to particular people's and socioeconomic groups' concerns. And then the third one is, how can we have peace when we don't solve the conditions for peace? I don't know what that means, because I think we can have peace without solving all our conflicts. Conflicts are gradually solved through various dialogues and adjustments and gradual changing policies. It doesn't mean that war is the way to solve these problems. Peace is a process. It's not an absolute state. It's a process of solving issues, and I don't see that there is really a very good alternative to that.
Thank you. We are going to keep to time, so we need to wrap up in 10 minutes. So let's take a couple of last questions. And could you keep your questions very precise, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lal, Malaysia. Is it true that no matter what we do, every 10 years or so we will run into a recession? On this question of the consultation, I think everybody in the world should be consulted. I don't know why people keep ignoring the United Nations. It's there for a purpose. We've got to use it and make it more effective as we get along. Now, just 2 pointers as far as getting over this recession, at least for Malaysia. I think we need more innovative and extended marketing effort during this period. If we are, for instance, exporting to 5 countries, maybe during this period we will have to export to 10 countries just to make up. And then, of course, this question of regulation, I mean, it's been established. The chairman of the Federal Reserve admitted he made a mistake about the free market. Without regulation, you can't have this freedom. And one more suggestion is that there should be no layoffs of people. Human capital is the most important capital that we have. And if we can minimize this, either by shortening the work week, for instance, or shorter hours or something, but pay them something so that they can keep going and keep the economy going. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think those were suggestions, and I presume, Robert, we don't really have a science to this crisis every 10 years. It just seems to happen that way. And the rest of your comments were essentially suggestions. There's no one here still in government, unfortunately, but we'll pass the word along. Yeah. Would you like to...
My name is KJ North Kemis. I've just tried to keep these questions as short as possible. My first question is actually, will developing countries with this global crisis that we have, are they more likely to follow the Chinese growth model rather than the Western model at the moment? The second question is, if civil liberties are likely to be left behind in this difficult economic crisis is expected to.
Okay, thank you. I think related to that, Tun, before I ask you to answer, could you just also attach an answer to one question from me, which is that, do you think that if in 97, 98 we had the current political environment, would you have been able to deal with it the way you dealt with it?
I mean, the current problem is far bigger than what we had to deal with in 1997, 98. So it was relatively easy for this country to take action and save itself. But what is happening today involves other countries and systems which are beyond our control. So we cannot solve these things by ourselves. We can perhaps reduce the effect on Malaysia, but we will be affected by what is decided by the powers that be on the system that we have now. This system of free market, for example, it sounds very good. The market will regulate itself. But the market is about making money. If they see an opportunity for making money, they don't see why they should hold back. They would want to make use of the free market to do what they think would bring them a good return. So we cannot really give this freedom to the market. Governments must come in, because governments are entrusted by the people to look after their welfare. The market is not entrusted by the people to look after their welfare. That is why I believe that there must be government intervention, government regulation, but the regulation must not be so tight that the market cannot function at all. Government must be business friendly, but at the same time government must oversee the market. The present condition, I think, is quite different, and it's not going to be easy for Malaysia to resolve it the way we did in 1997.
Thank you. Last two questions, yeah? So would you like to go first? Ladies first?
Ladies first.
Sorry, we still have manners here. Ladies first. Yeah.
Hello, hi. My name is Tengku K3 Ilyana from LVG Consultants. This is for Tun Dr. Mahathir bin Mohamad. I'm so excited now. Okay, well, now we are focusing more on the uncertainties and volatility. Yes, of course, we must actually acknowledge and review this current market condition. And yes, I understand that governments and global is monitoring and do whatever it takes to resolve these issues. My opinion is just why are we now focusing more on the risk and the negative side of financial situation? Why not we focus on the opportunities and the positive side? Because to be honest, I don't really love looking at the numbers over there just now, but yes, I have to know all this. Can Tun Dr. Mahathir give some positive and inspiring towards the current market situation? Thank you.
That's a very tough order. How to find the positive in the negative. Today we are seeing a lot of negatives, and whether we like it or not, we have to tackle the negatives. I have been looking for opportunities. I've been talking to some business people. Their complaint, of course, is that there are no more opportunities. What is happening to them is that they don't have the money, the market is very bad, retail business is very bad, restaurants are closing up. By the way, I own this loaf. I'm not promoting loaf here. But the number of customers coming to loaf has also decreased. So, of course, maybe we can take this opportunity to, say, open up more branches or things like that. But you have to be very careful about these things. Whether you can do during a recession, whether you can start something new. But what is important is to try and downsize our costs. Even in the government, we need to downsize our costs and to allocate our funds for things that can contribute to growth. Because of the, cost of living going up, all we do is to increase the pay. That's not going to solve the problem. We have to try and reduce our expenditure without hurting too many people. I don't know whether a proper study has been done, but this allocation of funds to me seems to be more politically motivated than the objective of solving our current problem. So we should get away from politics. We can't really get away too much from politics, but we should do things not in order to gain popularity, but because it is going to contribute towards our recovery. So we have to look very hard for the positive, although I must say at the moment I have not yet found the positive aspect of the present situation. Thank you.
Okay. So the last question there.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for...
Go ahead. Tak dengar?
Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon. My name is Al-Halmi. I'm from OCBC Bank, Malaysia, Berhad. But this is a personal question. There was a documentary I watched recently on Bloomberg about the views of the Singapore administration. What caught my attention was that the stance or policy that they adhere to is that never change whatever they have stated in their long-term plan. And my question is, what advice can you give the present administration and future administration of this country to ensure there's no flip-flop policies which affect the volatility of investor sentiment? Thank you.
Yes, I'm an advisor to Petronas and Lada, not to the present government. But, if I may, I would like to mention that when we faced a crisis in 1997, we sat down and worked very hard to understand the crisis. And we had to know everything about the economy. We used to sit down from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock every day, every morning, in order to study the data that is coming in, to try and understand what is happening on the ground and to see whether we can solve any of these problems. Of course, we study the overall problems such as the activities of the currency traders. Once we understand something, then it is possible for us to design a plan that will counter all these, the effects of all these activities. This time around, I think it is much more difficult, but nevertheless, the way to deal with a crisis is to understand the crisis. What is at the back of it? What is the cause of it? And once